What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Real quick before questions, we have two thank yous to give out. First to Jared Peardron, who joined our Patreon at the Jedi Council level, and our buddy Andrew Siner, aka Star Wars Ramblings, who joined at the Jedi Master level. So thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you. And I am still getting over my cold, so bear with me.
We're just going to see how this goes.
First up, Paul asks how Palpatine explained surviving the assassination attempt by Mace Windu and the other Jedi. I would say maybe because of his guards, the Red Guards.
Yeah, he already had them at that point, so I think that that's probably the most simple answer, is that he just said his guards saved him.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I did think about, in the Revenge of the Sith novelization, there's this whole thing where we learn that Palpatine has like recording devices in his office, and he acts much more defenseless when Mace Windu comes in, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm being attacked. And so maybe he doctored a recording or something. But yeah, I think no matter what, the explanation probably has to be his guards, because I don't think he would publicly say, well, this other Jedi, Anakin, saved me. Mm-hmm. Maybe he did, but it doesn't sound like that's the route he went, because that would have raised a lot of eyebrows.
Yeah. James Petrie wants to know if the Proto Sabre from Secrets of the Empire could be related to Vader's castle or Momin's ship, because they are all featuring the same two-pronged design.
I thought that was a really interesting point, and I didn't think about that. But yeah, Momin's ship has a very similar shape to Darth Vader's castle. Makes sense because they both were designed by Momin. But yeah, what if like the Proto Saber was designed by Momin? I don't think that's the case, because he was recruited by the Sith after the fact. But it would be interesting if it turns out that like one of the earliest lightsaber designs was of Sith origins.
Yeah, I mean, when we first found out about the Proto Saber and did the whole game, we immediately thought, oh, that is probably like an ancient Sith artifact, Proto Saber
at least
thing.
Ancient. I don't know about Sith, but yeah. Now that you point that out, I'm like, that does kind of make sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's something about, maybe that's not a specifically Sith thing with the two prongs, and we learned that it's kind of about attuning the Force like a tuning fork. So maybe the Proto Saber just has something similar where it's tuning the Force into like this energetic blade. But yeah, I thought that was a good point that I definitely had not considered yet.
Yeah, it's possible. Inthert asks if we could ever see a droid become Force sensitive, since we're exploring the droid sentience quite a bit in current Star Wars stories. That's interesting, because, I mean, droids aren't technically organic beings.
Right.
But I don't know.
It's, I mean, to a degree, maybe. I don't know. Like, we had Skippy, the Force-sensitive droid, but even that wasn't it wasn't even Legends canon. It was just kind of silly. And I don't know. I guess I see it as you need to have living cells within you so that you could, because that's how the Force is created, through life. So I don't know. I don't see a droid as we are familiar with them. I don't see something like C-3PO or L3 becoming Force sensitive. But I feel like a lot of sci-fi is about exploring what does it mean to be human and alive, and Battlestar Galactica, which is a show that we both love, really gets into that. And Cylons basically become humans, and the only difference between a human and a Cylon is that a Cylon is manufactured, but they are, like, they have blood and living cells. They grow, they age. So in that sense, I'm like, I feel like a Cylon, if they were plopped into Star Wars, could control the Force.
What about someone like Lobot, or like if we started to get droids more like Lobot, which is like more human than droid.
Right. And I mean, Lobot is just a cybernetic. He is a human first. But there was Guri from Star Wars Legends, who basically was a Cylon. Like, she was a human replica droid. But I think that she was more of a Terminator, like skin on top of metal, rather than like an actual living being. But I don't know, it's interesting. And I definitely think that a droid could believe in the Force, and like kind of like a Guardians of the Wills type thing, but I just don't see them at least the way that we know them now, I don't see them being able to control the Force in any way.
Yeah. Ron Barron wants to know if we like how the EU handled technology differences in the Old Republic, or do we want them to do it differently in the future?
I assume you're talking about how you jump back 4,000 years and things are pretty much still the same. I make jokes about that, but it doesn't really bother me at all. I mean, to a certain degree, I feel like Star Wars needs ships that can go from planet to planet, and for that you need hyperdrives. And so, yeah, I mean, if they were to do an Old Republic series of movies or something, I would still kind of expect all that stuff to be there. But they could change it to where it's like a Mass Effect type thing where you have these beacons and like they help launch ships into hyperspace instead of having their own drives. Like, I think there are ways that they could change the technology of the universe, but still allow us to have all the things that we know and are familiar with in Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars is already supposedly set in this futuristic time, and I don't know, from a storytelling standpoint, I don't think they were worried about differences in technology.
Yeah, I think that they were just trying to explore a different era of time. And yeah, I'm not opposed to them just saying, look, everything looks a little older, but it's basically the same. That wouldn't really bother me.
Flash Turtle asks if the Fallen Order game will let us make a custom character that makes different choices, or will we play a more concrete character like Iden Versio?
We don't know, first of all, but I kind of think we're going to have a concrete character, like this is who you're playing. I think it'll be more of a Last of Us Uncharted type thing.
Yeah, I was going to say Last of Us, where they just kind of plop you down as whoever the character is, right, and like right into the action.
This is your character and the story we're telling. Or we could talk about The Force Unleashed, which the game has already been compared to. I think you're going to have a set in stone character, which maybe you can customize their clothing or their lightsaber or something like that. But I do think it's going to be more of an Iden Versio situation where they have a specific story they want to tell about a specific character rather than letting you do kind of an RPG type thing. It doesn't feel like an RPG style game to me.
Yeah.
That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. And we also have a number of other patron exclusive things that came out this past week. We did our Shadow of Malevolence Clone Wars commentary. I released a reaction to issue 56 of the Star Wars comic and the first issue of the Han Solo Imperial Cadet comic. And we have our solo commentary coming soon. We haven't recorded it yet because she can't stop coughing for more than 10 minutes. So that will be coming, and that'll be exclusive to all of our patrons. Stop it.
On to YouTube questions. Darth Disney asks what we think would have happened if the very first Star Wars movie ever came out in 2018.
That's an interesting what-if scenario, and I have no idea. I mean, if the world were like exactly the way it is today and the first Star Wars movie came out, I don't think it would have been as impactful.
No, I don't either.
But at the same time, it's like, if Star Wars had never come out in 1977, where would we be today? Would we have still gotten to this point where we have like the MCU? I don't know that we would have. I think, well, something else probably would have come along to shift pop culture in that direction and movie making, but without Star Wars, I don't know, there would definitely be a serious butterfly effect. And I don't know what the world would look like without it.
We definitely wouldn't be doing this.
What would That's true. What would we be doing?
What would we be talking about?
Maybe Lord of the Rings? That could have still happened. I don't know if Indiana Jones would have happened without Star Wars, because Spielberg and Lucas envisioned it while they were on vacation because Lucas wanted to get away thinking Star Wars was going to bomb so bad. That's where they had the idea for Indiana Jones. There might not have been an Indiana Jones without Star Wars, so we couldn't do Indiana Jones Explained. And
I guess Buffy it is.
Yeah, we could do Buffy. We could do Lord of the Rings. Other than that, we're running out of things I know about.
But yeah, I mean, like, when it came out in the 70s, it was so different and revolutionary for sci-fi fantasy, for that genre.
Movies.
Yeah, for movies in general.
Now I'm like, how would have Star Trek changed? Because Star Trek came out first. So, I don't know. It may have still kind of gone that way with a different filmmaker. I don't know. It's really interesting to think about, but who knows?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as special.
Yes, I do agree. If it came out today, I don't think it would have impacted the world in the same way. Unless movies were just super boring for the past 40 years.
Oh yeah, maybe like up until now we hadn't had any good sci-fi fantasy movies.
Yeah, who knows, maybe.
Alexis L wants to know if there were any children taken by the First Order on Starkiller Base when it exploded. Oh no.
Yeah, children that were being trained by the First Order after being kidnapped. I'm gonna say no. I don't think so, because the Phasma book goes into the training of like the youngest kidnapped children.
Yeah.
And according to Cardinal, it sounds like the youngest kids are trained on Star Destroyers. So, I mean, you have to remember that Starkiller Base wasn't the home world of the First Order.
Mm-hmm.
I bet there were some trainees there, but for the most part, they were a mobile group. Yeah. I mean, even Starkiller Base was mobile, which is absurd. But
absurd.
It's absurd. But yeah, I think that most of the youngest kids were probably on a Star Destroyer and not Starkiller Base.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
That's what we'll tell ourselves so that we can sleep at night.
Yeah.
Dark Jedi Mall asks if we think Obi Wan's lightsaber is in Darth Vader's castle.
In Legends, it was. He did keep it, and he took it to his fortress on Vajun. I guess it kind of makes sense that it would be there if he went back there after A New Hope. But at the same time, I'm like, I think it makes more sense for the lightsaber to have just exploded on the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know why Vader would have picked it up and then gone to his TIE fighter and been like, well, I need this. It's not like he thought the Death Star was about to explode and he wanted to take all of his collectibles.
That's true.
I think that he more likely put it in his office or whatever he has.
Yeah.
And then left to go dogfight.
I don't know. Like, part of me feels like he would pick it up and then, you know, he would have had two lightsabers to fight with.
In his starfighter?
Well, no, but like, just for in the future.
You know, I mean, I guess he had his other lightsaber that survived the Death Star, so, but that one stays hooked on his belt. Like, does he have a little cape pouch like Grievous? I guess I wouldn't be surprised if it showed up at Vader's fortress in the future, but in my mind, I'm like, it doesn't really make sense for him to have brought it onto his TIE fighter. So, but whatever. That's like a nitpicky thing that I wouldn't care about if they decided to bring Obi Wan's lightsaber into a story.
I guess if we wanted to speculate wildly.
Sure. And not responsibly. I'm... Okay. I'm not going to do the... Oh, fine.
If we wanted to speculate wildly, we could say, yes, it's at Vader's castle, and somehow in episode 9, Rey gets it.
Someone gets it. It would be cool to see it come back. I don't deny that at all. Stop moving your head.
Okay.
Gotta track all that.
Grandmaster Skywalker wants to know if we think Cardinal and Finn could team up to start a Stormtrooper revolution in episode 9.
I like all these Cardinal-related questions.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that Cardinal's going to be in episode 9. As much as I love the character, if like a red armored stormtrooper popped in who was a good guy, everyone would be like, what's going on here?
Yeah. For those of you who haven't read the book Phasma, Cardinal was a stormtrooper like Phasma who trained the other...
the trainees.
Yeah, the trainees. And he had all red armor. But read the Phasma book because he's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't think that he's just going to pop in. And if he didn't have the armor because he's like left the First Order, that would make we'd be like, who is this? So I don't think that they're going to team up. I don't think we're going to see Cardinal at all, but I do really like the idea of Finn starting a revolution.
Yeah, we've talked about that before and how that is a definite possibility.
It's just that, I mean, I was someone that in the theater for The Last Jedi, I was like, oh, he's going to sacrifice his life. I thought that was a nice dovetail on his arc, that he went from a stormtrooper to a stormtrooper who was kind of neutral to like, I'm willing to die for the resistance. That didn't happen. And I think that it could be kind of great if he didn't die there so that he could do something even bigger. Like that would have been a temporary setback for the First Order. But what if he came back in 9 and was able to do something to like straight up bring them down and to be like the poster boy of stormtroopers breaking their programming?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a great story for him to tell.
Yeah, and we already know that the First Order is kind of a little rocky and shaken up right now. Half of them think one thing happened on Crate, and half of them think something else happened.
They're straight up being lied to.
Yeah, they're being lied to. So I could definitely see some people in the First Order, once they learn the truth about Kylo Ren and how crazy he is, like, they might bail.
I think the foundation is there if that's the way they want to go, and I would love to see it happen. That's just something that we haven't seen in Star Wars before as well, like a mass defection against the fascists. I think that would be cool.
Yeah. Elemental Jedi asks, if the Old Republic comes back, do we want to see the same story from the games or a new story with the same characters?
For me personally, selfishly, I would want a new story just because, like, I know the twists and turns of KOTOR, but I would also kind of be okay if they just said, we're doing the KOTOR story, and people that never played the games are going to get to experience this on the big screen, the story of Revan and Malak and Bastila. I think that could be cool, and I would be on board if that's what they wanted to do. So I'm kind of fine either way, but personally, I'm like, I already know that story. I would like to experience something new.
Yeah. I always thought if they do go into the Old Republic that they might go even further and do different story and different characters.
I kind of think that would be the case, yeah.
Yeah, but then again, I don't know. I'm the same way. Like, I wouldn't mind if they did want to pay homage to the original games and just tell that story again. But if they're going to follow the kind of trend that they've been following, I think it would be a new story with new characters.
I think that is the most likely case right now. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel,
and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.